Good morning, students. How are you all today? Prepared for your second lecture of history? Okay. So, yes. Okay. So, first of all, I'll tell you that we are going to cover two topics today. I'll try to cover two topics. That is, first is historiography of history, and second is electoral process, which we have planned last time. Okay, that we are going to cover. So I'm going to tell you only the MCQ point of view important points, and that much part only I'm going to teach you, because otherwise it will be very difficult for me to cover those both the topics in this particular session. So I would request you all that whatever questions you are having, just ask me in whatever 5-10 minutes break I will give you to ask me questions in that only, please, so that it will be a smooth process. I can teach you and I can ask you. Okay, I'm going to solve all your difficulties, but please, first of all, let me explain first. Okay, is it clear to all of you? Shall we start now? Okay, so first we are going to start with historiography. Now, what is historiography? Historiography is a new term for ICSE people. Okay, SSC students, they have done it. But what is historiography? See, writing of a critical narrative of history, that is known as historiography. That is our first topic. Now, earlier there was no such tradition of writing historiography. They used to tell their history to their उनके जो आगे के पीढ़ी थे उनको वो हाउ दे यूज टू कन्वे देयर हिस्ट्री, तो थ्रू सिंगिंग ऑफ सॉन्ग्स और बलाड्स लाईक पोवाडे म्हणतो ज्याला आपण मराठीमध्ये, और स्टोरी टेलिंग, केव पेंटिंग, ऑल दॅट स्टफ. Through that, they used to carry forward their historical knowledge to their uh, जो भी उनके प्रेसिडर्स थे उनको they used to give. Okay, but हिस्टोरियोग्राफी जब हम लोग लिखने के बारे में आते हैं, when we come to writing the narrative of historiography, it should be critical, means authentic information, based on authentic information. Now how will we verify that? इट इज देर इज नो साइंटिफिक मेथड, जैसे हम लोग साइंस में या मैथ्स में वी सी दैट देर आर साइंटिफिक मेथड्स लाइक न्यूटन्स लॉ है, आर्किमिडीज है, या पाइथागोरस थियरम है, दैट वी कैन अगेन रिक्रिएट, एंड थ्रू आर ऑब्जर्वेशंस और एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन वी कैन प्रूव दैट अगेन. But in terms of history it is not possible, because whatever history that is happened, you cannot recreate it. So how to verify that fact, whether it is correct or not, whether it is true or not? So there are certain disciplines through which we can do this research. A knowledgeable person in that particular field is needed. So I'll share my screen to you and we'll see that. Okay, and we'll continue. Let me share my screen. Okay, am I audible clearly to all of you? Okay, thank you. Wait. Is my screen visible to all of you? Can you see this, students? See. So, historiography, we are going to see first chapter, that is historiography development in the West. We are going to see the Western pattern. And in the next chapter, we are going to see the Indian tradition. Okay. Now, as I've told you, there are different methods or disciplines which help in historical research, and those are important from the point of view of MCQs, or those could be asked for your concept maps. Means four will be given, one will be asked, that kind of thing they can do. And that is method of various disciplines which are useful in historical research. You can see your archaeology. Now I need not have to explain you all archaeology, what archaeology is. You all know about it. Okay, archaeology, archival science, manuscriptology, then epigraphy. Epigraphy means study of inscriptions, whatever inscriptions, earlier inscriptions, that study of that particular inscriptions. Then comes analysis of lettering style, how the a particular time period or particular uh, 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 a particular person used to write, his or her lettering style, or that period, for that time period what lettering style they used to do. Okay, then linguistics. Linguistics means about the languages, the type of languages they used that particular period of time, or that authentic, if you want to see the authenticity of that particular manuscript, then linguistics are very important. Numismatics. Numismatics means the study of coins, the then available coins, contemporary coins. About that, when it tells, it comes to numismatics. Then genealogy. Genealogy means the lineage, ancestral. You can see the family tree and your ancestors, their घराने जिसको बोलते हैं ना, that genealogy. And these all disciplines are important for historical research. In this way, we can study history, and then a historian who writes the historical narrative, that person is known as historian, and that historical narrative is known as historiography. So it is very important MCQ. Now take out your textbooks, please. Page number 2, we are going to do page number 2. Am I clearly audible to all of you? Please tell me this. Okay. See, page number 2, there is tradition of historiography paragraph. Tradition of historiography paragraph. In that, you can see the writing of critical historical narrative is known as historiography. Underline that. The writing of critical historical narrative is known as historiography. Underline that. A scholar who writes such a narrative is a historian. A scholar who writes such narrative is known as historian. Underline that. Everybody underlined? Okay, we'll move further. Okay, now see, as I have told you, there are traditional means which are now sources of modern history, because earlier there were no tradition of writing such historiography. Okay, but how then they used to pass on their historical knowledge to uh, uh, their आगे की पीढ़ी? How they used to do that? So they used to do it through storytelling, singing of ballads. Okay, then stories of the life and valor of the ancestors, जो भी great leaders या kings या ancestors का जो भी stories of their life or their bravery, those used to be told. Then cave paintings, you all know, in Madhya Pradesh, Bhimbetka, you all know that historical site where cave paintings are there, we can find that. So these are the four ways of traditional means. Now those are considered as the sources of modern history through which we can write historiography, authentic traditional knowledge. Okay, so you can mark that also in your book, page number 2. Last 4 to 5 lines, you mark those lines. Ancient communities all over the world used various means like cave paintings, storytelling, singing songs and ballads, etc., for this purpose. These traditional means are looked upon as sources of history in modern historiography. Is it clear to all of you? Okay. Now on the right hand side you can see do you know? Huh? There one inscription, one picture of an inscription is given, which is the earliest inscription which is now kept in the Louvre Museum of France. It is of the Sumer civilization of Mesopotamia. It dates back during the 4500 BCE, matlab before Christ. That is BC. You all know about that time span, right? So 4500 BCE, that time period is. During that, सुमेर civilization in the Mesopotamia, मतलब आज का जो इराक, ईरान and that part of you can see, उस वक्त उसे मेसोपोटेमिया बुलाया जाता था. So सुमेर civilization, this inscription is of that. You could be asked for this. See, you can underline those. It could be asked like that above picture. It could be asked for that about particular picture. What was it about? One sentence, and it will be asked whether it is true or false. Then you will have to correct it. Okay. So likewise, also it could be asked. So underline those points also. The above picture shows a fragment of an earlier inscription. A forward marching file of soldiers holding shields and spears is seen here. The general is in front. This particular information could be asked. Okay, you have seen your PDF whatever is shared by sir on group. Okay, in that you can see these questions are given. Okay, all MCQs are covered there. I am also giving you 95-99% of these MCQs. Okay, so try to solve all those in MCQs plus whatever notes I will give you, that also try to solve. Okay, whatever difficulties you will have, I will solve those. Now the general is in front. Okay, that was the Sumer civilization in Mesopotamia, underline that line. And the earliest inscription shows above dates back to 4500 BCE, underline that also. It records a battle fought between two kingdoms. It now displayed at the Louvre Museum in France. This is very important point. Louvre Museum in France. This also you should underline. See, I have written here. I'll be giving these notes to you also. Ancient inscription in France. The Louvre Museum in France has an inscription that dates back to 4500 BC, that of Sumer civilization in Mesopotamia. It records a battle fought between two kingdoms. A forward marching file of soldiers holding shields is seen here. The general is in the front. Okay, is it clear to all of you? Now, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Wait, I'll stop sharing. Do you have any questions, children? Let me see your chat. Okay. Is it clear? Shall we move further? Shall we move further? Yes. Okay. Okay. You have underlined all those important points, whatever I have told you just now. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all. So let's move further. I'll be sharing my screen again. Okay. Now, as we have seen about this inscription, history. History is this word, it is Greek word, as you all know. History is first used by the earlier historian. His name was Herodotus. He was considered as the father of history. Herodotus is considered as the father of history, and he used this term history for his book, and the book's name was The Histories. He used this term history for the first time. This is a Greek term. This also is very important from the point of view of MCQs. Okay, see here, history is originally a Greek term used by Herodotus, the Greek historian of 5th century BCE, for his book The Histories. Is it clear? Underline this. This is also there on page number 3. This is also there on page number 3. First big paragraph, fourth line. History is originally a Greek term. Herodotus, the Greek historian of the 5th century BCE, used it first for his book entitled The Histories. Is it clear? Is it clear to all of you? Okay. Now students will have to see some characteristics of modern historiography. In brief, I would tell you this because if it could be asked for, like one statement is given and you will have to write down whatever true or whatever false, you will have to pick up one, then you should know this. See, modern historiography's characteristics are, uh, certain questions are asked and the answers are found out. Those questions are anthropocentric. Anthropocentric means human centric. Human centric questions are asked about the society, about the humans of that particular period, and it is nothing to do with any god or goddesses. It is not related to any divine, anything, any relation between the humans and the divine that used to be done earlier. You all know, huh? Because earlier, history means mythology. Only mythological stories, mythological characters were present in history. But now, in modern era, historiography writing is human centric, means it is connected to human and the society. Okay, so in modern historiography characteristics, we are going to see page number 2. Its method is based on scientific principles. It begins with the formation of relevant questions. These questions are anthropocentric. Underline this. It could be asked for MCQ. These questions are anthropocentric. It means that these questions are about the deeds of the members of ancient human societies of a particular period. History does not suggest any interrelation between the divine and human deeds. Underline this also. What it does not tell, it does not tell any relation between humans and the divine. Okay? And answers to these questions are supported by reliable evidences. Reliable evidence. You'll have to prove it, then only it will be considered true. History presents a graph of mankind's journey with the help of past human deeds. Okay, this much part is covered. If you have any difficulties, ask me now. All the fill in the blanks or MCQs I have underlined, please underline that thoroughly. And if you missed out something, you can ask me now. Let me see if somebody has any difficulty. Okay, so let's move further. You don't have any difficulties, that seems okay. Now let's move further. Now we are going to see the European scholars who have contributed a lot in writing this historiography, or rather who had changed the world psyche in writing historiography. That we are going to see. About those scholars we are going to see. Okay. Is it visible enough? It's not too small, no? It's visible? Okay. Now, see, earlier history was not studied at all. But then in the Göttingen University in Germany, which is in which was established in 1737 in Germany. It was founded that historiography, a separate department for history, was established in the Göttingen University that was founded in Germany. Underline this. In 1737 CE, the Göttingen University was founded in Germany, which has a separate department of history. They started studying history from the modern point of view through, and in Göttingen University they had their different separate department of history. You can underline that in page number 3, development of scientific perspective in Europe and historiography. Its last para, okay. In 1737 CE, the Göttingen University was founded in Germany. This university for the first time had an independent department of history. Underline this. Have you all underlined? Okay. Okay. Shubhra Shreya, okay. Thank you. Then we'll move further. Okay. Now, we are going to see the scholars who have contributed in this historiography, writing of historiography, modern historiography. First and foremost is Rene Descartes. You should pronounce it as Rene Descartes. It is not Rene Descartes. From the point of your spelling, yes, you can remember it, but it should be pronounced as Rene Descartes. He was from France, and his book was termed as Discourse on the Method. He put forth the theory that he always mentioned that unless and until all the doubts are cleared, we should not consider any historical document authentic. No historical document is authentic till all the doubts are cleared. He put forth this for the first time. Who? Rene Descartes. His country was France, and his book's name was Discourse on the Method. I have given it in a tabular form so that you can remember it, because it is very important from the MCQ point of view. Okay, so let's see page number 3. You can also underline this in your book so that you can have dual. Rene Descartes, in that you can underline Discourse on the Method. His book, underline his book's name, Discourse on the Method. The following is supposed to have a great impact on the scientific method of research. Never to accept anything for true till all grounds of doubt are excluded. See, this question could be asked like, I have seen that in the PDF form. Never to accept anything for true till all grounds of doubt are excluded. Who mentioned this? And the names will be given, so you can tick Rene Descartes. Is it clear? Because every person, every European scholar had different thinking. They put forth different theories, but more or less those are same, but there are certain differences. So you should remember those little differences what they used to consider. Okay. Voltaire. Now, Voltaire was also known as, Voltaire's original name was Francois Marie Arouet. What was his name? Francois Marie Arouet. It should not be pronounced as Francois Marie Arouet. T is silent. Francois Marie Arouet. He was from France, and he was considered as the founder of modern historiography. Why? Why he was considered as founder? Because he mentioned that it is not the chronological order of the events that happened. It is not only that in history we should consider the agriculture, the social life, the then available political social values of the particular period. Everything should be included in history. That's what he mentioned, and that is why he was considered as founder of modern historiography. Is it clear to all of you? So it could be asked his original name. What Voltaire is also known as Francois Marie Arouet, or Francois Marie Arouet is also known as Voltaire. It could be asked his country's name, and he was considered as founder of modern historiography. Now, don't get confused between founder of modern historiography and father of history. Herodotus is father of history, and founder of modern historiography is Voltaire. Is it clear? Do you have any doubt to ask? It's very simple actually. So we'll move further. Okay. Third one is George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. He was from Germany and he wrote two books, Reason in History, Encyclopedia of Philosophical Sciences. And what is main important in his philosophy is he put forth the theory of dialectics. Dialectics means what? See, if you want to understand a thing thoroughly, then you will have to see both the sides of that particular thing, means good and bad, true and false, all the sides should be cleared. So according to him, in dialectics he put forth the theory that there is whatever is put forth, like for that particular whatever he wants to say, it is thesis. What is for that particular thing, it is thesis. And the contrary thing, again it is mentioned, that is antithesis. मतलब एक बार गुड बोल दिया फिर उसके बाद बैड बोल दिया, बोथ द साइड्स ऑफ द कॉइन आर शोड. ओके, अभी दोनों कॉइन्स के साइड दिखाने के बाद वी विल कम ऑन अ जिस्ट. There will be thorough discussion, there will be thorough discussion on both the sides, and then we can conclude, that is antithesis. एंड थीसिस का जो हम लोग डिस्कशन करेंगे, उससे हम लोग जिस किसी एक नतीजे पे आएंगे, दैट इज नोन एज सिंथेसिस. Synthesis is the gist, and then only you will understand the theory clearly. Okay, so we can first of all page number 3, Voltaire का पहले underline करो. Voltaire's original name was Francois Marie Arouet. He was French. Underline that. Voltaire's original name was Francois Marie Arouet and he was French. Then the last point, Voltaire was the founder of modern historiography. Underline. Voltaire was also known as founder of modern historiography. Then George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. He was a German philosopher. Underline that. He was a German philosopher. Then page number 4, mark his books, Encyclopedia of Philosophical Science, at the end of the para. Encyclopedia of Philosophical Science and Reason in History. Reason in History. Okay, is it clear? Then in the yellow box, it is good to know, in that particular box you should underline the method of analysis. Underline that method's name, dialectic. It could be asked, who put forth the theory of dialectic? And that is George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. This method of analysis, which is based on opposites, is known as dialectic. And what it has, or what it mentioned, thesis, antithesis, and the gist is synthesis. So underline that also. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Let me see if you are asking something. No, you need not have to learn why he was called as founder of modern history. But yes, founder of modern history he was. And that you should remember, because it could be asked, who was considered as founder of modern history. And Rene Descartes, Hegel, Voltaire, then Leopold von Ranke, these names will be given, and you will have to select one. That is it. Okay? Okay. Anyone wants to ask anything? Okay. Shall we move further? Okay. So, third one we had seen George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. Now we'll be going to see Leopold von Ranke. Now, from the names itself, you can find out German names and French names. So, Leopold von Ranke is German, and he was a professor in Berlin University. Okay. His books' names were The Theory and Practice of History and The Secret of World History. That you remember. That's it. Okay. Leopold von Ranke, his country's name is Germany. The Theory and Practice of History and Secret of World History are his books. Okay. That much you underline. Page number 4. Leopold von Ranke of Berlin University. Underline that. आपको कंफ्यूज करने के लिए इट कुड बी आस्क्ड लाइक बर्लिन यूनिवर्सिटी, गॉटिंगन यूनिवर्सिटी, ब्रिटिश यूनिवर्सिटी, अमेरिकन यूनिवर्सिटी, कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं. ही वॉज फ्रॉम. ओके, दैट इज वाई अंडरलाइन बर्लिन यूनिवर्सिटी. देन लास्ट में उसके बुक्स के नाम हैं द थियोरी एंड प्रैक्टिस ऑफ हिस्ट्री एंड द सीक्रेट ऑफ वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री. अंडरलाइन दैट. Is it clear to all of you? This much part, Leopold von Ranke tak. Yeah, very good. Now we'll move further. Okay. Now Karl Marx, who is very important. Why? Anybody can tell me? ICSE students, you have world wars in your syllabus, right? You must be knowing this. Who was Karl Marx and why he was famous for? Okay, let me see. Let me see. Yes. Then, yes, he is the basis of modern economy. Okay, modern economy, but which kind of economy? Can you name that economy? Yes, socialism, communism, you can say. Yes, very good. Karl Marx was a German philosopher. Karl Marx was a German philosopher, and he put forth communist philosophy based on which Russian Revolution took place. And adopting his philosophy, Russian Revolution took place and Russia emerged as a superpower in Second World War. That is why Karl Marx का theory Germany ने नहीं लिया. Germany had not followed Karl Marx's theory, but Russia did. And because of which the Russian Revolution took place. Those are big topics to study. But just remember these things. Who was Karl Marx? Okay. And he put forth the theory of class theory, which is very famous. Class theory of Karl Marx. According to him, at a given point of time, there are two parts in or classes in a society. One is the haves, and second is have nots. Okay, haves, they have all the means of production, all the, you can say they are the rich people. Okay, or the entrepreneurs जो बड़े बड़े owners होते हैं, those are in haves. And have nots mean all the mazdoor, laborers. Those are not having anything. And always the haves will exploit the have nots. And after some time, there will be a class struggle, and then haves not will overthrow the power of haves. मतलब poor लोग rich लोगों की power को overthrow कर देंगे. And that is known as, whatever economy is based on, that is known as communist philosophy or socialist philosophy. मतलब each and every person of the society should get the equal share whatever is there of the economy. That is socialism. Everybody is equal. That is classless theory. मतलब कहीं पे भी सोसाइटी में कोई भी क्लास नहीं होना चाहिए. नो क्लास शुड बी देयर. नो रिच क्लास, नो पुअर क्लास. That is termed as class theory. So it could be asked, who put forth the theory of class? That is Karl Marx. He was German, and his famous book is known as Das Kapital. Underline that in your book, page number 5. Page number 5. Das Kapital, a treatise written by him, is the most referred book all over the world. Underline that. Okay, and on page number 4 you can write down his name, Karl Marx. He was German. Underline that. Is it clear to all of you? Any doubt? Okay, then let's move further. And as we have seen, these were the notable scholars. It could be asked, one question was asked, like the concept map was asked, all the names were given, and what will be the question for this map was asked. So you should write there notable scholars. Page number 6, you can see page number 6, then you will understand what I'm saying. Page number 6, complete the concept chart. Okay, it could be asked like all the four names were given, and what will be the question for this was asked. So it should be, what will be the title for this? It was asked. So it should be notable scholars in Europe. Or vice versa, it could be asked like three will be given, one will be asked. And if it is wrong, you will have to find out if it is wrong. Is it clear? If Herodotus' name is given, it is wrong, no? So you should find it out. That is why you should know this. Is it clear? Now, see, Annals School. Annals School was started by French historians. Huh? It was started by French historians at the onset of the 20th century. And what was the difference? Why this was started? What was actually the theory behind it? That means you should include everything in history. It is not just the bravery of valor of the ancestors, king, great leaders, wars, their strategies, their planning, their conspiracies. History is not only about this. It should be included in it, like agriculture, social life. What Voltaire had put forth, that was only the basis of Annals School, that you should include everything in the history. History should be included with all these things: agriculture, social economy, then political values, then whatever are the climatic structure. Everything should be added in history. That was Annals School, and it was started by French historians. Okay, page number 5, Annals Schools, second third line. 20th century में historiography arose in France, which is known as Annals School. Underline that. And the last line, the Annals School was started by French historians. Annals School was 20th century, beta. On the onset, dawn of 20th century, when 20th century started, that time Annals School was started. Okay, Kshitij? Okay, am I clear? Am I audible? Yeah. Let's move. Is it clear to all of you? We'll have to go fast because I'll have to cover the second topic also. Now that's why I'm asking you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now we are going to see the feminist historiography. Feminist historiography means restructuring of the history from the female or women's point of view. Because up till now, as you have seen, women were given secondary status in the society, so they were not having any place in history. So they also should be included in history. History should also have the perspective from their point of view that was mentioned by Simone de Beauvoir. I have written there. You can see this. See, Simone de Beauvoir of France. She was from France, and because of her, feminist historiography was started. Simone de Beauvoir. The spelling is Beauvoir, but it should be pronounced as Beauvoir. Okay, so underline this, page number 5, feminist historiography. If at all in the Western culture feminist historiography is asked, then you should write Simone de Beauvoir's name. And if it is in Indians, I will tell you next, in that is in next chapter we are having. Okay, that is Tarabai Shinde. Will start it later. Okay, Simone de Beauvoir, she was from France and she had started feminist historiography. Page number 5, fourth line. The writings of Simone de Beauvoir helped in establishing the fundamentals of feminism. She was French. Underline that. Okay, that's it. So, all the aspects of women's life were included in history because of her work. Is it clear? And last but not the least is Michel Foucault. It should be pronounced as Michel Foucault. He was a French historian. Okay, he was a French historian. It is Michel, not Michael, and it is not Foucault, it is Foucault. Okay, it's a French name, so you should pronounce it like that. Michel Foucault, France, Archaeology of Knowledge was his book. He again put forth a different theory that we should understand the transition in history. We should not just aim at reaching the goal, okay, finalizing. We should not only concentrate on that, we should learn the transition and the history. जो भी एक स्टेट से दूसरे स्टेट में जाते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ट्रांजिशन, यू ऑल नो. सो ट्रांजिशन देखो, एपमैन से लेके आज तक हम लोग ट्रांजिशंस में से जाते हैं, आए हैं. ओके, सो दैट ट्रांजिशन वी शुड लर्न. इट वाज हिज ओपिनियन and he put forth in that archaeology of knowledge. His book's name was Archaeology of Knowledge. Michel Foucault. Underline page number 5, Michel Foucault, the French historian of the 20th century, Michel Foucault. Then underline his book's name, Archaeology of Knowledge. That's it with this lesson. Now, I want you to ask me if you have any difficulties. Just see the whole lesson and ask me if you have any difficulties. Whatever notes I have prepared, I will be forwarding it in the group. And plus you have all that PDF. Okay, solve those questions in the PDF. If you have any difficulty, you can ask me in the next lecture. Is it clear? So I'll not be sharing that because you people already have that, no? So I'll not be sharing that PDF. Just go through it, solve those questions, and if you have any difficulties, ask me in the next lecture. Go through the lesson. Otherwise, we'll start with electoral process. For the first time, I finished this fast. How are you? Sir had forwarded that MCQ, CET MCQ 2000 and something MCQs. Its name is. I'll again forward in group today after this lecture. Go through it. Everything in science, maths, they are having all the MCQs. They had given all the MCQs. Just Download that PDF and start solving. Who have got that? Who have got that? Please tell me through chat, because Arya is saying he is not having that. Nobody had downloaded that PDF. Nobody had seen that PDF which sir has posted in our group. He had posted. Yes, Vedika, very good. Vedika said she had downloaded. Yes, 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 Suhani. Right, right, Suhani. So, all of you, please download it and start solving. It had covered maximum MCQs, maximum MCQs. So, try solving that. Okay. So, have you gone through the chapter? Yes, yes. It takes a lot time. Okay. But then also, because it has got so many questions now, you will get a good practice. So just download it. All of you, shall we move further? Shall we start with electoral process? Okay, thank you. Now let's move further to electoral process. It's political science now, electoral process. Neamis have introduced you to the working of our constitution, right? Last period. Now we'll be seeing that electoral process. Electoral process means election process. Now, one of you, or just tell me why elections are necessary, why elections are held, why those are necessary, why elections are necessary. Any of you? Yeah, to maintain democracy. Yeah, that's right. But to maintain democracy, elections are necessary means what? Yes, to choose a government. Yes, that's right. To choose our government, to choose our representatives, because we have representative democracy. India has a modern democracy, adopted a modern democracy which is representative democracy. Now, what is representative democracy? We choose our own representatives. That is representative democracy. There are two types of democracies in the world. One, I have told you, representative democracy. And second one, which was a gift of Greece. No Kshitij, socialist, no socialist. Which was a gift of Greeks to the world. Democracy itself, it is a gift from the Greeks. It is direct democracy, beta. Indirect democracy means representative democracy, and direct democracy, which is not possible today's time because the population was less in Greek city states. It was possible. It was started in the Athens. You must have heard this. Athens, the Greek city state, and they had practiced this direct democracy. Now, in modern period, we have accepted representative democracy, that is indirect democracy. In indirect democracy, there are again two types. Which are they? We have parliamentary democracy. Second one is, I have given you this hint. We have parliamentary democracy. Which is the second one? My SST students, wake up, brush up your knowledge. I've told you this. Yes, yes, Kshitij, very good. Presidential democracy. Parliamentary democracy and presidential democracy. Parliamentary democracy means Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are the whole and soul, and presidential democracy means President and his ministers is the whole and soul. Now, presidential democracy, as you all know, practiced in America and France, and parliamentary democracy is practiced in India and England. Okay. Now, in India also we have president, but prime minister takes all the decisions. Presidential is a signatory, you can say, for the titular sec. President is there, but all the important decisions for the welfare of the country is taken by prime minister, and that is why ours is parliamentary democracy. And vice versa, in America and France it is taken by president. So president is the whole and soul. That is why it is presidential democracy. Is it clear to all of you? Now, as we have adopted indirect democracy, election and representation are the main important structures of processes of our democracy. Now, we have to ensure free, fair, and reliable um, um, elections to our people. And that is why this process is very important. This process is why it is very important, because we have to ensure it free and fair elections. That is why election commission is established by our constitution. Constitution has a separate department of election commission which is not under any government. It is the autonomous body. What do you mean by the term autonomous body? Autonomous body means it is the completely different self rule like body. Nobody can have nobody can pressurize that particular body, or nobody can have a authority on that particular body. It works differently. Okay. Article 370 Article 324 of the Indian Constitution has this provision of election commission, which had established election commission. So we are first going to underline the important points. Page number 75. Take out page number 75 of your textbook, all of you. Okay. In that, you are going to underline. Do you know that paragraph, green paragraph, there, modern democracy is a representative democracy. Important MCQ. I have given this, but still you underline that in your book. Modern democracy is a representative democracy. Underline that. Then, in the paragraph that is above, third line, election and representation are two very important processes in democracy. Election and representation are two very important processes in democracy. Underline that also. Okay. Then comes the last three lines of that left hand side. The Election Commission of India and the state level state election commissions conduct all important elections in our country. The Election Commission of India and the state level state election commission conduct all important elections in our country. Underline that also. Then comes the fourth line. Under the direction and control of election commission. It is carried out under the direction and control of election commission. Okay. Now we are going to see how the election commission is established. As I have told you, according to the Article 324 of the Indian Constitution, this autonomous body of election commission is established. Okay. It has three persons as a staff only. First is the chief election commissioner and two other deputy commissioners. Those are appointed by president, nobody else. Those are appointed by president. The chief election commissioner and two other deputy commissioners, those are appointed by president. Is it clear to all of you? Now, this is extra information I'm giving. If it is asked as a general question, general knowledge question, The chief election commissioner and other commissioners should be of IAS or ICS cadre. IAS, you all know what is the full form of IAS? Anybody? Yes, Kshitij, you want me to repeat what we have to underline? Yes, Indian Administrative Service. Yes, you are right. Yes, Kshitij, you want me to repeat what I told you to underline? Those lines which I have already given. See, I'll repeat. Page number 75, third line, election and representation are two very important processes in democracy. Okay? Election and representation are two very important processes in democracy. Then last three lines of that left hand side. The Election Commission of India and the state level state commission, election commission conduct all important elections in our country. Then in that green box, first line, modern democracy is a representative democracy. Okay. Then on the right hand side, the direction and control of election commission, fourth line. It is carried out under the direction and control of election commission. And then I'm going to tell you now. This much we have underlined. Is it clear, Kshitij? Are you done with it? Okay. So let's move further. As I've told you, they should be from IAS or ICS cadre, Indian Civil Service or Indian Administrative Service. Okay. And the president appoints them. President only appoints them. Okay. Now they cannot be removed from their office because of pressure of someone, because it is autonomous body, and they should guarantee they should preserve the independence of election commission, and that is why they cannot be removed for any reason from their post easily they cannot be removed. Is it clear? Now the election commission does not have its own staff. Only three of them are there. Now, to carry out so many elections in the vast country like India, how is it possible? Anybody? How is it possible to carry out the process of election then? Only three are there. How they can carry? Yes, you must have read that. Okay. Vedika, you must have read that, right? All the government officers, yes, teachers, government officers, or the government staff is there to help them out in this process, not private staff. There are separate bodies made for certain activities. No, Kshitij, all the government officers, all the government teachers, that means BMC teachers vagare, if somebody's father or mother works in BMC, or they must be knowing this. Whenever elections comes, their duty is always there to prepare the voters list, to go from place to place, carry out that particular task given to them. Those are all activities start government employees. Okay, so government employees, teachers and officers, they help them out. It is binding to them to help the election commissioners, election commission. Okay, is it clear to all of you? So underline that also. Page number 76. Page number 76, the president appoints the election commissioners. Underline that. That is important MCQ. The president appoints the election commissioner. Then, in second paragraph, the election commission does not have a separate staff. Government officers, teachers, and other employees help the election commission to execute the process of elections. Underline that. Okay. Now we'll move back to page number 75 because in book we'll have to underline certain points. Page number 75, Election Commission. Article 324, underline that part. Article 324 of Indian Constitution has established this autonomous body which has Chief Election Commissioner and two other commissioners. I've already mentioned in the notes, but still you underline it in your textbook. And I will again tell you, again request you all to go through the textbooks. Though we are going to give you notes, though the PDF is available, you will have to refer the textbook. Okay? Because all the possible MCQs we will give, but it is possible that there is one or two left. You will have to read the book for that. You will have to understand the book thoroughly for that. Is it clear? Is it clear to all of you? Okay. Now underline those two. Then the first chief election commissioner was Sukumar Sen. Sukumar Sen was our first chief election commissioner. The first, you can say, elections were held in 1951-52, and at that point of time, he was the first chief election commissioner because he had the experience in Indian civil services under British rule in 1921. He had worked there as civil services in Indian civil services, which was under the British rule in 1921. So he was made as chief election commissioner, and he was dedicatedly worked and responsibly worked for his post. So underline that also, page number 75. That green box, do you know green box? Sukumar Sen was the first chief election commissioner after independence. In 1921, Sen was selected for Indian civil services under the British rule. Underline. After two lines, there is one more line. Election Commission was established in 1950. See, don't get confused between. Election Commission was established in 1950, but first elections were held in 1951-52. So read the question before, otherwise you tend to make mistakes. Okay? If you misunderstand the question, you will wrongly answer. So first read the question, whether it is asked the establishment of election commission or the first elections in India. That you will have to first read the question for that. Is it clear? So don't get confused. Okay. Next. Okay. Now, have you all underlined government officers, teachers and other employees help the election commission to execute the process of elections? Have you underlined that? Okay. Now, all of you must be knowing this, that the voters day is celebrated always now. After 2014, voters day is celebrated. Now what is voters day? To why this voters day is celebrated? Anybody, if you know about this, why the voters day is celebrated? Yes, to encourage the people to vote, to include new voters. Okay, that is awakening of the masses for voting. Yes, awareness. Yes, increasing awareness. Yes. Okay, now it is 25th of, anybody? Anybody? I have written there 25th of Jan. Yes. 26th of January is our Republic Day. 25th Jan is our National Voters Day. Is it clear? Very easy to remember because we celebrate our Republic Day on 26th. So 25th, one day before, it is National Voters Day. Okay? Is it clear? It is not given in the book, but it could be asked. You never know. So that's why I've mentioned there 25th of January, that is National Voters Day. Is it clear? Now we are going to see the functions of Election Commission. Let me move further. Wait. functions of election commission. Now there are 5 functions that is given in our book about the election commission. First is preparing the voters list. Preparing the voters list, then editing it, means new members 18 years and above, whoever are have completed their 18 years, those are added in the voters list. Then if there are any mistakes, those will be eliminated, those will be corrected. And that is the preparation of electoral rolls. It is called as preparation of electoral rolls, and that is the first function of election commission, that is preparing the voters list. Okay, you need not have to go in deep, because MCQ point of view say it's not that important. Just remember the functions and their names. Okay, so page number 76, page number 76, preparing the voters list, underline that title. And then fourth or fifth line, the election commission to prepare the list of eligible voters, update the existing voters list, and include the names of new voters. And you all know, I need not have to tell you, 18 years and above. That's what you have seen in the working of constitution. Universal adult franchise देखा था ना? What is universal adult franchise? What is universal adult franchise? It could be asked for MCQ. Huh? What is universal adult franchise? First lesson, political science. Every person who is 18 years and above can vote. Yes, but it should be a citizen of India. Citizen of India and 18 years and above can vote. Okay, earlier it was 21, now it is 18 plus. And now further it is under the thinking that they'll reduce it to 16. It is just under the thinking. Okay, now we'll move further. First function we had seen, preparing the voters list. Second is decide the timetable and program of elections, when to take, how to take, in how many stages to take the election in particular area and as a whole. That is completely decided by election commission. Okay, so underline that point also. The election commission decides when to conduct elections and in how many stages to hold elections in every state. Underline that. Underline that. Underlined. Next, scrutiny of the applications of candidates. Now, what do you mean by the term scrutiny? Anybody? I've told you this, huh? 10th people, you all know about it. Now, I want it from ICSE. It's a simple word, scrutinizing. No security, it's scrutiny, beta. Scrutiny. Doing scrutiny means what? If you know. Yes, very good. It is critical examination. Critically examining a thing. Okay, examining a thing. Checking for the authenticity, right? It's also right. Yes. Okay. So the whatever applications have come for the persons who are there to contest the elections, the candidates who have filled the application forms, you all know that the candidates who want to contest the elections, they should fill forms of application. Those are scrutinized by election commission, whether whatever information they had given is true, if there is any fake information, or that candidate is eligible to contest the election, to verify its candidature. What do you mean? Candidature means if he is fit to contest the elections. That is checked by election commission. That is known as scrutinizing the application forms. Now, underline that also. Scrutiny of the applications of candidates. Okay. Now, always there are no candidates from particular parties only. They independently also can contest the elections. So, all of them are scrutinized. Okay. Then, next, give recognition to political parties. Now you know that a political party should be recognized first by the election commission. If it is not recognized by the election commission, that the party cannot stand for election, the candidates for that party cannot stand for or contest the elections. That is there. So giving recognition to the political parties is the function of election commission. Okay. Election commission gives particular symbols to the parties. You cannot on your own just select the symbols. That's what I have told you earlier also. 10 standard SSS students, symbols are given to the parties. Why symbols are given to the parties when the name is there? Anybody? Why party needs a symbol? Just for your general knowledge I'm asking. Quick, if you know. Yes, yes, for uneducated people. Yes, very good. Very good, Tanishka and Kshitij. Uneducated people cannot read, but they can see the symbol of the party and then they can vote for that. That is why symbol is given. And symbol must be more or less related to the program of the party. That is why it is selected. Election commission will give you the list of the symbols and you will have to select one of them. They will give you the list. You will have to select one of them. Is it clear? So recognition to the political parties is the function of election commission. Now underline that also, page number 76. Give recognition to the political parties. We have a multi-party system in our country. Underline that MCQ. Yes, very good. Confusing similar party names can be identified and yes, 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 differentiated. Very good, Jitesh. Right. Okay. Now multi-party system is practiced in India. Underline that. That is why we call India as a purest form of democracy, because in a democracy every person should have a say, and that is multi-party system is practiced in India, not in China. China is also a democratic country. It is, but it is not there. Multi-party system is not there. Only the Communist Party of China is there. Okay. Next, page number 77. Second line. All political parties are required to be recognized by the election commission. Election commission also has a right to de-recognize any political party. Underline that also. And election commission also allots election symbols to the political parties. Underline that also. These are important from the MCQ's point of view. Okay. Then to resolve any disputes relating to elections. See, there are many disputes occur during the elections, and to resolve those is the very, you can say, important function of election commission to resolve the disputes. Okay. So underline that also. To resolve any disputes relating to elections. If a person is declared to be disqualified or derecognition or re-elections to be held, those all decisions are taken by election commission. Is it clear? Sham Sharan Negi from Himachal Pradesh was the first voter of India who voted for Lok Sabha elections held in 25th of October 1951. As I've told you, in India, first elections took place 51-52 and the election commission is established in 1950. So do not get confused. Okay, this is important MCQ, page number 77. I have already mentioned it, but you underline it in your textbook. Sham Sharan Negi, that green box. Sham Sharan Negi from Himachal Pradesh was the first voter of India. He exercised his right to vote on 25th of October 1951 in Lok Sabha elections. It is also known as general elections. Do you have any difficulties, students? Or let's move further. Want to ask me anything? Am I audible clearly? Am I audible? Okay. So let's move further. Okay. Okay. Very good. Now reorganizing of the constituencies. Now what do you mean by the term constituency? See, our India is divided into different constituencies for Lok Sabha elections. See, one single person can be selected or elected from that particular constituency. For giving you one example, just for the example sake, हमारा गोरेगांव area completely or Malad area is a one constituency. Then Jogeshwari is next constituency. Likewise, there are constituencies, and from each constituency, one only member is elected. Okay, so there are 543 constituencies in Lok Sabha. Why? Because 543 members are there in Lok Sabha. So each member, one constituency. That is why 543. Remember this number, very important from the point of view of MCQ. There are total 543 constituencies of Lok Sabha, as every member represents one constituency. And it is the responsibility of Delimitation Commission to create constituencies. Who creates constituencies? Election Commission only, but a part of Election Commission which is known as Delimitation Commission. Very important, fill in the blank. It is the responsibility of Delimitation Commission to create constituencies. Is it clear to all of you? Now let's move further. Okay. Now we'll see what is code of conduct. Do you know what is code of conduct? Anybody? What is code of conduct? 10 people. What is code of conduct? Code of conduct is a measure that is adopted by our election commission so that free and fair elections are guaranteed. See, during elections there are certain malpractices like booth capturing. अभी हमारे महाराष्ट्र में ऐसा नहीं होता है, ज़्यादातर बिहार उत्तर प्रदेश साइड में ज़्यादा होता है. That is booth capturing or threatening the candidates or misuse of money. Such kind of things happen which are called as malpractices during elections. Okay, that means free and fair elections are not there. We are not guaranteeing people about free and fair elections. So to control these malpractices, certain measures were adopted by our election commission, and code of conduct is one of them. The rules and regulations that are to be followed by the government, the political parties and the voters, that is there in this particular code of conduct, and nobody can violate, not even government cannot violate these rules. Code of conduct मतलब ऐसे होता है कि आज इलेक्शन है तो उसके 3 दिन पहले आचार संहिता बोलते हैं उसको, दैट इज कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट लागू हो जाता है. दैट मीन्स in that particular period you cannot do whatever is mentioned in the rule sheet. मतलब जो भी code of conduct is practiced, you should follow that. Is it clear to all of you what is code of conduct? Now page number 78, underline. To ensure free and fair elections in India, the election commission has adopted code of conduct. Underline. Then third last line of that left hand side, the code of conduct explains the rules that are to be followed by the government, political parties and voters. It could be asked, huh? Government, political parties and voters. Those should be followed by all these three. Underline during and before elections. Okay. Now, what are the challenges? What are the challenges those are faced by the election commission during these for giving you or guaranteeing you free and fair elections? There are hurdles, there are obstacles. These are the challenges faced by our government. Okay. What election commission faces, that is, first is misuse of money. You all know misuse of money, how it is done. Only you can remember the titles of this, huh? You need not have to go in deep for that. Just remember the titles, how the misuse of money is made and all that. You need not have to remember. Then many political parties give candidature to the persons who are having criminal backgrounds. So this is known as criminalization of politics. That is also one challenge. Third challenge is that is the violence. You all know बहुत सारे फिल्म्स में हम लोग देखते हैं, in pictures we see this, that ये during the election campaigns और actual election में बहुत सारा violence होता है, fighting होता है, that we have seen. Okay, so violence is another challenge which is faced by the election commission. And last but not the least, which is known as nepotism, that is family monopoly. Nepotism, you all know about it nowadays. Family politics, बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होते हैं कि though their children are not that capable or they are not that much you can say good leaders, still they are having the power because of their family. और ये तो किंगशिप में भी हम लोगों ने देखा है. Now it is practiced in democracy also. You all know the family names. ठाकरे की family है, यादव की family है, मतलब लालू प्रसाद यादव की family है, ठाकरे की family है. We have seen this. Gandhi family is very famous. So all these family, this is family politics. Okay, कि उनके ही लोगों को आगे जाके they are getting the benefit. Okay, next part is the types of elections, which is very important, and EVMs, which is the remaining part. EVMs, you all know na. EVMs means electronic voting machine. Earlier ballot boxes were used, and we used to write whatever, there was a paper, there used to be a paper on which the symbols were there. उस पे ठप्पा लगाना, and then that paper will be in the ballot box. In this way, now thousands, lakhs of trees were cut. To stop that, EVMs were introduced in 1990s. Okay, and it is very convenient for the Divyanga people. Divyanga means disabled people, to vote for through EVMs, that is electronic voting machines. And the option of nota is also available. Nota means none of the above. Option nota, that is none of the above, is also available in EVMs. So EVMs nowadays is a very convenient form of voting. Then comes the types of elections. Now first of all, we'll underline the term, page number 79, EVMs. उसका जो ग्रीन बॉक्स है उसमें फर्स्ट लाइन है, द फर्स्ट इलेक्शन इन इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिया वाज हेल्ड इन 1951-52, अंडरलाइन. उसके बाद नीचे वाली लाइन, दे कुड चूज एन ऑप्शन ऑफ नन ऑफ द अबव, दैट इज नोटा. इट बिकेम इजी फॉर डिसेबल्ड पीपल, दिव्यांग, टू वोट. अंडरलाइन दिस. हैव यू ऑल अंडरलाइंड दिस, students? Have you all underlined this? Okay, now the last topic, which is general elections, midterm elections and by-election. These are the three types of elections we practice. General election, you all know, after every 5 years Lok Sabha elections are held, that is general elections. Then comes midterm elections. Midterm elections means before the expiry of the term, as the name suggests, mid term. that is before the expiry of the term, means before the 5 years are over, majority of a party is withdrawn, matlab that party is no more in majority, then and no other party is eligible, no other party is also that much you can say have the control, so the re-elections are taken, and that is known as midterm elections. And the third is by-elections. By-elections means if a person of Vidhan Sabha or Lok Sabha dies or resigns, then his seat becomes vacant for that particular seat. When election is taken, that is known as by elections. Is it clear to all of you? Midterm election, general election, and by election, it should be cleared. It could be asked and you will get confused, so understand it thoroughly. What is general election? After every 5 years, Lok Sabha elections are taken, and that is general election. Midterm election, before the expiry of the term, if a party loses its majority, then it is midterm election. And by election means for the vacant seat which is formed due to the death or resignation of any candidate of Lok Sabha or Vidhan Sabha, that is known as by elections. So underline this in page number 80. Page number 80. Lok Sabha elections every 5 years. Underline general election. Then midterm election, if the elected government loses its majority before completing its term. Underline that. And by elections in Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha or local self-governing institutions resigns or due to his or her death, his seat becomes vacant. For that vacant seat, by elections are taken. Okay. So still 5 minutes are remaining. If you have any difficulties, you can ask me now. Okay, and that green box also is important for one MCQ. That green box, voter verified paper audit trail in EVM machines. Underline that. Voter verified paper audit trail in EVM machines. This facility, the voter can verify whether the vote is registered properly or not. Otherwise, sometimes it may happen that you have pressed the button but it is not pressed correctly and that vote is not registered. Then it is the available facility. Okay, voters verified paper audit trail in EVMs. Underline that also. If to see whether your vote is validly registered or not. So is it clear to all of you? Electoral process also we have completed with. And now you can ask me questions if you have any. I'll stop sharing my screen. Now you can ask me anything. I'll be forwarding those notes on group. You can ask me anything related to mass media also, which we have done earlier, if you have any difficulties. Okay, Kshitij, I got your point. Yes. Okay. So, shall we stop here? As you all have understood, no doubts. Very good, Ankita. Thank you. Have you understood correctly? Have you marked down? Please download that PDF. Those who have not downloaded yet, please download that PDF. Go through the fill in the blanks, MCQs, concept maps, everything. It is given. And if you have any difficulty, you can ask me in the next period. Yes, Ojas, that is a PDF which is forwarded by Sir. You have not got that? Yes, MCQ book I'm talking about, Gargi. Yes, target PDF, right, Ojas. Have you downloaded it? It has history, political science section also. So go through it. 99% of the MCQs are covered. Solve those MCQs. If you find any difficulty in solving that, or you stuck to any particular question, write it down, ask me in the next period. Yes, 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 yes. All chapters are there in history except fourth and sixth. Fourth and sixth are omitted. Those are not there. And fifth chapter of political science is not there. Otherwise, all chapters are included. And we'll try to cover all those chapters. Okay. So let's end our session. Okay. No difficulties now. So bye. Bye, students. We'll meet next time. Okay. Bye.